Have you ever had that feeling like there's this deep, ancient wisdom out there, maybe a kind of lost intellectual treasure just waiting for us to rediscover it, almost like a brilliant mind, someone truly impactful, but somehow still, well, mostly overlooked, even centuries later? Welcome to the deep dive. Our whole mission here is to peel back those layers for you. We take fascinating sources, dig out the crucial insights, and basically turn all that information into real understanding. Think of it as your shortcut to getting genuinely informed, maybe with a few surprising facts thrown in. Today, we're starting an incredible journey. We're diving into the philosophical and mystical world of Shihab al-Din Yahya ibn Habash Suhrawardi. He's the founder of Illuminationist Philosophy. And this deep dive, the first in our Wisdom Unveiled series, is pretty special. It's based on a set of audio conversations from Marifat, featuring these really respected Iranian philosophers, Dr. Ibrahim Dinani and Dr. Esmail Mansouri Larijani. It gives us this amazing window into Suhrawardi's thought.
And just before we jump right in, a quick note for everyone listening. This deep dive is a translation and reproduction of those specific conversations with Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani. Now, translating deep philosophical ideas, well, some nuances might not come across perfectly. It's tricky. So we do apologize in advance for any discrepancies. And honestly, your feedback, any suggestions you have, we'd love to hear them.
You know, it's interesting. Even after spending a lot of time with Suhrawardi's work myself, I even wrote a book on him, Shah Andishava Shohid fi Falsafa Suhrawardi. He still feels like such a hidden figure. It's like his brilliance is still sort of waiting in the wings.
It really is uncanny, isn't it? Suhrawardi was, well, an extraordinarily unique thinker, a truly innovative sage. And it's genuinely staggering when you think about it, 800 years since his martyrdom in Aleppo. He died so young, only 36 or 38, yet he's still largely unknown to so many people. He often gets called Sheikh Maqtul, the flame master. But I tend to agree with the philosophers in these conversations we're drawing from. Shak Shahid, the martyr, seems much more fitting, doesn't it, for someone who died for divine wisdom.
That's a really important distinction.
Yeah, and think about this contrast. Philosophers like Avicenna, Ibn Sina, or Mulla Sadra, their names became quite well known in philosophy circles. Their books became the standard texts, studied for generations. But Suhrawardi's key work, Hikmat al-Ishraq, Illuminationist Wisdom, it rarely functioned as a primary textbook in the same way. Students didn't usually start their philosophical journey directly with his main writings, even though later thinkers constantly quoted him. It's quite a paradox.
That is strange. Widely quoted, but not directly studied as much.
Exactly. And it's fascinating, really, that Mulla Sadra's commentary on Hikmat al-Ishraq is arguably still the best, most insightful work written about Suhrawardi. So his genius was undeniable, people recognized it, but that direct, widespread classroom influence is surprisingly limited for centuries, like a hidden garden of wisdom, as you said.
That really sets the stage perfectly, highlighting just how enigmatic Suhrawardi is. It makes me want to get right to the heart of his philosophy. He specifically chose the title Hikmat al-Ishraq. So what's the foundational meaning of Hikmat, wisdom, for him? And how is it really different from Falsafa, which we usually just translate as philosophy? Why that specific word, Hikmat?
That is absolutely the right place to start. Because his choice of Hikmat isn't casual, it's deeply significant. Let's maybe break down the origins a bit. Falsafa, that comes straight from the Greek philosophia, literally lover of wisdom. It points to that kind of rigorous rational thinking we often associate with philosophy, grappling with the big questions, ontology, existence, beginnings, ends, the meaning of life. Socrates, calling himself a lover of wisdom, kind of implied it's a pursuit without end.
Okay, the love of wisdom, the endless search.
Right. Now, Hikmat, this word has strong Islamic and Quranic roots. God himself is called al-Hakim, the all-wise. Like Falsafa, Hikmat definitely involves deep rational investigation into those fundamental questions. But for Suhrawardi, it adds two absolutely crucial dimensions. First, there's Ithqan. This means something like firmness, precision, being well established. The thought isn't just a clever idea, it has to be utterly solid, free from illusion, free from mere speculation, and backed by really robust, compelling arguments.
So intellectual rigor pushed to its limit.
Precisely. Think of God being Hakim. His creation is seen as perfect, flawless, based on his absolute knowledge. That's the ultimate Ithqan in action. It demands that level of precision in thought. Then the second dimension is practical embodiment. A Hakim, a truly wise person, isn't just someone who thinks deep thoughts in isolation. They live by those fundamental insights. Their actions have to reflect that deep understanding. Wisdom isn't just known, it's embodied.
So it connects thought and action directly.
Absolutely. And for Suhrawardi, a true Hakim is also fundamentally a rational thinker who has this undeniable connection to the divine, to God. They lead a life that's both profoundly wise and rational and spiritual. So Hikmat for him goes beyond just intellectual perception. It's more like a complete envelopment of the truth of the thing, as he might put it. It's imbued with a kind of divine spirituality, a luminous quality. It's an integrated way of knowing and being where light meets logic, essentially.
That really clarifies the depth of Hikmah. It's not just thinking about truth, but participating in it, living it, rooted in the divine. And thinking about roots, this leads to a bigger historical question. Where does this kind of profound wisdom actually come from, historically? We often get the story that philosophy basically started, full stop, in Greece. How did Suhrawardi see that? Did he challenge that idea?
Oh, absolutely. That narrative philosophy starting only in Greece, with everyone else being, barbarians, that's a very common Western perspective. But Suhrawardi, and actually many other Eastern sages, strongly challenged this view. They argued quite compellingly that ancient Iran was also a major cradle of profound wisdom, and that there was always significant cultural and intellectual exchange happening between Greece and Persia. It wasn't a one-way street.
So multiple origins, mutual influence.
Exactly. Greece's contribution was huge, undeniably, but it wasn't the sole source. And there was a key difference he highlighted. Many pre-Socratic Greek philosophers tended towards polytheism, and their focus was often on physis, the natural material world. Ancient Iranian sages, on the other hand, were largely monotheistic. This is a crucial distinction for Suhrawardi. He saw himself very much as a reviver of this ancient Iranian monotheistic wisdom tradition. He viewed the Mashai, or peripatetic philosophy, the more standard, Greek-influenced rationalism you see in many of Avicenna's published works, as primarily a continuation of that Greek line of thought.
Okay, so he's positioning his Illuminationism as tapping into a different, older, monotheistic stream.
Precisely. But, and this is really important, Suhrawardi had immense respect for Avicenna. He didn't just dismiss him. In fact, he believed Avicenna also possessed a deeper, more Iranian or Ishraqi-style wisdom, but that Avicenna mostly hinted at it in more esoteric writings, keeping it somewhat separate from his more famous, formal philosophical works.
Interesting. So he saw a hidden depth even in Avicenna.
Yes. And for Suhrawardi, his own Illuminationist wisdom, this Hikmat al-Ishraq, was far more deeply compatible with core Islamic principles. He was apparently an incredible master of the Quran, deeply committed to interpreting that ancient Iranian wisdom, specifically through the light of Islamic revelation. He's genuinely considered one of the most profoundly devout Muslim philosophers in history. He saw a seamless connection there.
So it sounds like Suhrawardi envisioned this continuous thread, almost like an eternal stream of wisdom flowing through history. Could you tell us more about his ideas of Khira-Javdan, eternal wisdom, and Khamira-ye Azali, the primordial essence? This feels like it really pushes back against our modern tendency to always focus on progress and kind of dismiss the past, right?
It absolutely does. That's a core part of his thought. His concepts of Khira-Javdan, eternal wisdom, and Khamira-ye Azali, the primordial essence or leaven, directly challenge that modern assumption that, tomorrow is always better than yesterday.
Yeah.
So where he says, hold on, there's a fundamental, enduring wisdom that's always been present.
How does he base that idea?
Well, for him, the entire universe isn't just random stuff. It's founded upon primordial wisdom. An eternal intellect underlies everything. And crucially, he argues that this divine wisdom must find its expression within humanity. Humans are the beings capable of grasping the universe's secrets, its inherent rationality, its connection to God's perfect creation. He connects this Khamira-ye Azali beautifully to Islamic tradition, specifically a Hadith Qudsi where God says, I kneaded the clay of Adam with my 2 hands for 40 mornings.
40 mornings. What does that signify?
It signifies that Adam, the very first human and also a prophet, wasn't created blank or savage. He was created already imbued with divine wisdom right from the start, kneaded into his very being. So Suhrawardi's conclusion from this is profound. The world has always had a hakim, a wise person. Humanity didn't start in ignorance or chaos and stumble towards wisdom. It began from a state of primordial wisdom as a direct reflection of God's own wisdom.
Wow, that completely flips the script on many origin stories.
It really does. Think about modern scientific origin stories. The Big Bang starting from a singularity, or Darwinian evolution emerging from simpler forms. They often imply a beginning in chaos, or something less ordered. Suhrawardi asserts the opposite. The universe, as God's creation, is never devoid of wisdom, and humanity, as its conscious mirror, reflects that wisdom from the very beginning. The wisdom is baked in, you could say.
That's a powerful concept. Wisdom isn't just acquired, it's inherent. Given this view, how did Suhrawardi then categorize different kinds of philosophers or wise people he saw in the world? Did he have specific types?
He did, yes. It's a very insightful classification he offers. He outlines basically three categories of those who seek and attain wisdom. First, you have the Bathi. That translates roughly as discursive or argumentative.
Sure.
These are the thinkers who gain wisdom primarily through intense intellectual effort, logic, debate, rational demonstration. Think of your classic systematic philosophers.
Okay, the logic-driven path.
Second, there are the Dauki. This means intuitive or experiential. These are individuals who receive wisdom more through divine inspiration, spiritual insight, direct illumination, or tasting dok, means tasting. Their path is more about inner realization, maybe flashes of insight.
The path of inner experience.
Exactly. And then the third category, which Suhrawardi clearly saw as the highest, includes those who are both Dauki and Bathi. These are the sages who masterfully combine that deep intuitive insight with rigorous, compelling, rational argumentation.
The synthesis of both.
Right. And perhaps unsurprisingly, Suhrawardi placed himself firmly in this third category. He was brilliant at both. He would never, ever present an intuitive insight and Ishraqi illumination without also providing the strongest possible rational arguments to back it up. He moves seamlessly between spiritual realization and intellectual proof.
So that's the core of his Illuminationist wisdom, Hikmat al-Ishraq, that blend.
That's precisely it. It makes his approach unique. It's not pure mysticism like you might find with someone like Bayezid Bastami or Ibn Arabi, who focus primarily on the experiential. And it's not purely peripatetic philosophy, focused solely on discursive reason. Suhrawardi masterfully weaves the language of intuition and direct experience together with the language of logical demonstration. It's a synthesis, like having both the direct vision and the detailed map of the territory.
That makes sense, unifying these seemingly different paths to truth. Now, there's a concept that seems incredibly central to his thought, cropping up again and again, al-Tamm, often translated as the perfect nature. What exactly is that, and why is it so fundamental for Suhrawardi?
al-Tamm. Yes, that is absolutely a cornerstone of his mystical philosophy. It's a really fascinating and quite unique concept. The term itself, as recounted by Suhrawardi, comes from this striking encounter experienced by Hermes, a revered ancient sage, sometimes identified with the prophet Idris in Islamic tradition. In this account, Hermes encounters a luminous spiritual being who declares to him, "I am al-Tamm."
I am your perfect nature. What does that imply?
It represents the complete, perfected human identity or self. It encompasses every single dimension of our being, from the lowest physical aspect right up to the highest spiritual potential. It embodies all the stages of ascent towards wisdom and perfection, and even the necessary descents. It's the holistic reality of the true self, almost like a spiritual guide or archetype inherent within the individual sage.
So like an inner blueprint for perfection, or a guiding presence.
Something like that. It's the inner reality that guides the seeker towards completion, towards embodying that perfect nature. It signifies the profound, total reality of who a person can become in their journey towards God. And this is really crucial, we have to be incredibly careful with modern interpretations. I've seen attempts, and I would strongly caution against this, to somehow equate Suhrawardi's al-Tamm with, say, Freud's concept of the unconscious mind.
Right, that sounds like a stretch.
It's a huge stretch.
Yeah.
The philosophical and spiritual gulf between those ideas is vast. Trying to map modern psychological concepts onto Suhrawardi completely misses the point. To really grasp al-Tamm, you need a solid grounding in the context of Islamic philosophy, mysticism, and cosmology. It's deeply embedded in that worldview. You can't just pull it out and drop it into a Freudian framework.
Understood. It needs to be seen within its own rich tradition.
Absolutely. And this connects back to the source of wisdom. Suhrawardi consistently emphasizes that true wisdom doesn't just bubble up from human reasoning alone. It originates ultimately from the Maqtul, the unseen abode, from God himself, and it's bestowed upon those whose hearts are pure and receptive. He even acknowledged that great Greek philosophers like Plato, whom he deeply respected, received their wisdom from this same divine, unseen source, just like Hermes received guidance from his al-Tamm. So this idea that maybe Socrates was the first to bring wisdom down from heaven, Suhrawardi would trace that lineage much further back. For him, it began with Adam himself, the first human infused with that Khamira-ye Azali, that primordial leaven of wisdom. It's an unbroken chain of divine light.
That really paints a full picture of his worldview. So just to kind of wrap up what we've explored today, we've seen that for Suhrawardi, wisdom hikmah isn't just intellectual gymnastics. It's this profound, inner, intuitive reception of truth. It comes with a divine light, originates ultimately from God, and has to manifest through purification and actually living that truth. It's a fully integrated vision.
Indeed. And, reflecting on Suhrawardi himself, it's just remarkable. To achieve such profound insights, such mastery of the Quran, such connection to the al-Bayt, the Prophet's household, and to do it all by the age of 38, when he was martyred. That youth itself is a powerful testament, isn't it, to how divine wisdom can manifest, sometimes unexpectedly, through individuals deeply connected to that source, illuminating things in ways we're still unpacking today.
That's a perfect final thought for you, the listener, to consider. The enduring power of this kind of wisdom, radiating across centuries, often from figures who deserve much more attention. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive as we started to unveil the luminary and perhaps still slightly lost legacy of Suhrawardi. We're really excited to continue exploring his Illuminationist thought in the next deep dives of our Wisdom Unveiled series. We genuinely hope his radiant perspective can shed some light on your own understanding. Until next time, stay curious.